The Battle of Pydna, which took place in Greece in June 22, 168 BC, was the decisive engagement of the Third Macedonian War, 171–167 BC, which ended the Macedonian threat to Greece and solidified Roman control over the Near East. Before we start, let's zoom out a bit to see the big picture. You see, Rome first intervened in Greece in 215 BC during the Second Punic War. The great Carthaginian general Hannibal Barca, hoping to siphon off some Roman forces, concluded an alliance with King Philip V of Macedon, ushering in the First Macedonian War, 215–205 BC. Rome dispatched troops to Greece, and operating in conjunction with forces from the various Greek city-states over the next decade, helped prevent the Macedonians from again conquering the peninsula. Despite their failure in this decade-long war, the Macedonian kings were determined to re-establish Macedonian control over Greece. In 200 BC, Philip concluded an alliance with King Antiochus III of the Seleucid Empire, the easternmost of Alexander the Great's successor kingdoms, whereupon Rome declared war. The Second Macedonian War, 200–196 BC, ended with Philip Fairn's defeat by Rome in the Battle of Cynocephalae in 197. Philip V died in 179. His son Perseus succeeded him and renewed the effort to conquer Greece. Rome therefore allied with Pergamum against Perseus in the Third Macedonian War, 171–167 BC. Initially, the Romans did poorly. The troops they sent to Greece landed on the east coast of Illyria and marched to Macedon, only to be defeated in 3 separate campaigns during 171–170. Finally, in 168, Rome sent out a capable commander, Lucius Aemilius Paullus, along with reinforcements. After taking command, Paullus retrained his forces and then set out in June 168. His plan called for a hammer and anvil battle. He would hold Perseus in camp with part of his force, while sending most of his troops around in a flanking attack from the northwest against the Macedonian rear. Perseus learned of the flanking movement, however, and extricated his army in time. Then he moved north in an attempt to get away from the pursuing Romans. Paullus quickly reunited his forces at Dium and set out in pursuit. The Romans caught up with the Macedonians at the Leucus River, south of the city of Pydna. Paullus established his camp to the west of the Macedonians in the foothills of Mount Olocrus. With the river running along the entire eastern edge of the battlefield and the high ground on the west, the Romans had the advantage. On the night of June 21, 168 BC, there was a total lunar eclipse. Now, this might not seem like a big deal, but the Romans were forewarned of the upcoming darkness by a Roman officer who correctly predicted the event. So, they decided to regard it as a good omen. The Macedonians, however, were not so lucky and were completely surprised by the eclipse, which they believed to be an extremely bad omen. How much this affected the battle that took place the very next day is unclear. What is clear is that on the afternoon of June 22, 168, both sides were observing a truce to allow them to draw water from the Leucus River. According to Plutarch, something happened that caused each side to rush for their weapons, although Livy gives a slightly different account. All we really know is that when fighting resumed, Perseus's forces got the jump on the Romans and organized themselves into battle array first. Perseus, king of Macedon, reportedly had at his disposal some 4,000 cavalry and 40,000 infantry. He placed 2 of his phalanxes in the center of his army, with mercenaries on his left flank and cavalry on his right. Facing him was probably 2 Roman legions in the center, with cavalry on their left flank, facing that of the Macedonians, and some Italian allied light infantry on their right, along with a few war elephants. At first, the battle went well for Perseus. As his phalanxes crashed into the still-forming Roman legions, the mercenaries on his left also beat back a Roman counterattack by Paulus's allied infantry. But the phalanx could only operate effectively on flat ground, and as they advanced, the Macedonian formations broke up in the foothills of the Roman camp. Realizing this, Paullus seized the opportunity of the openings in the Macedonian line to insert his troops and war elephants. And once they got into the mix, the Romans exacted a terrible price, reportedly killing up to 20,000 men and taking another 11,000 prisoner. The victors reported their losses at 100 killed and 400 wounded. Perseus fled the field with his cavalry, ending the Third Macedonian War and extinguishing Macedonia as a threat to its neighbors. Rome disarmed the Macedonians, sought out and killed or sent to Italy all those who had aided Perseus, and divided Macedonia into 4 unrelated republics that were forced to pay a moderate tribute. Perseus died in captivity in Italy. Rome now took control of Illyria and stripped Rhodes of its fleet,